Come along, coffee. Come along, coffee. Ask, tell, demand. It's with the brand. Folks, do you have your come along coffee? Because I know Steve Edwards does. And if you don't, now is the perfect time to get that come along coffee in your body, because you need to be saddled up here saddled up mentally and energetically for the next 60 minutes. Try and match my energy. Woo! It's going to
Woo!
be a lot of fun. My name's Dave. This is Steve Edwards. Every single week on Tuesday, we get together to talk about mules and donkeys. The week of Thanksgiving is no exception. We are so glad that you are here, spending a few minutes of your day with us. Hopefully, whatever questions you got, we'll get them answered so that when you go back out the rest of this week and into this long weekend, you can gain the trust of that animal, get results, and enjoy what it is to be an equine owner, especially that
Hey,
mule and donkey. They are the Cadillac of the equine world. Steve, it's been a whole week since we talked. I know it's tough to believe this year is just flying
woo!
by.
I
How have things been going for you?
been going good. We've been went and got my brother-in-law at the airport the other day, and well, actually last night, and I got that done. But I'm a little sad in a lot of ways because here's the deal: one of my clients had to put her mule down, and it's always sad, to do that sort of thing. And we've kind of talked about that some. But this particular case, she said, Steve, I wished I would have read your article about buying mules at an auction before I bought the mule. And she said that mule double barreled her husband, so both hind legs hit him at the same time and hurt him pretty good, and also hurt her. So they decided to have the mule euthanized. Yep. And so, there's a lot of things to think about, folks. When you get a hold of these animals, they're enjoyable. Oh man, I mean, when Dave come down to the ranch and with his kids, we had a great time. And you can have a great time, but remember, these are animals, and especially when you go through auctions, people don't care. I'm sorry to tell you this. They'll tell you about anything to sell that animal. Your red is worth nothing compared to their green, and that's what they want. So I'm a little sad that way, Dave. I'm happy because Thanksgiving's coming up. I'm happy because we've got the United States of America is now under the flag of the United States of America instead of communist nation. So anyway, that's my story, and I'm gonna stick to it, buddy.
We got a lot to celebrate, and yeah, I'm sad to hear about that. I remember when we were down in south of Tucson at Andrada Ranch. I remember my oldest Isaiah, who was younger at the time than my youngest right now. He asked you the question about, Mr. Steve, do you ever have to put animals down? And it was a very genuine question, and you about had the same attitude and the same demeanor as just now. It's like, it's sad that it has to happen. Sometimes it's in the best interest. Sometimes maybe it could have been avoided. Sometimes there's just no way you can avoid it. But one thing that I love about this program is that we're putting out as much information as possible so that people can know what they need to know before they go into a situation that might get difficult or frustrating or hard to kind of decide what to do. So that's what we're going to do today. That's what we do every single week. And if you have any questions, we want to hear. Matter of fact, there's 3 things we ask. Number 1, share your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like today. That's just one of the ways that we get to know you. Real simple, easy questions. So if you're a little bit shy, hopefully that's easy enough and just enough for you to hop in there, say hello, because we sure would love to know that you are here, and say hello right back at you. That's the first thing. Name, where you're watching from, what the weather's like. The second thing we ask is that you share any and every mule or donkey question that you have. I've already seen a couple come through. That's fantastic. Would love to see your question. What is it that you're working on, and what is it that you'd like a little bit of help on? We're going to do whatever we can to get you the information that you need. You go out, give it a whirl. If you find something that works different for you, great, go ahead. What we're going to do is we're going to tell you what has worked for Steve all of these decades of working with the mule and the donkey. And not only are we going to tell you what's worked, but we're going to tell you what it is that you can do without causing more problems. Now, that was a huge theme when we first here started this program. You might be able to take and get them to fix one thing, but without knowing it, you've started down a path where you're going to have problems 3, 6, 9, 12 months down the road. So we're going to tell you what works and is going to avoid causing problems down the future. That's really what we want, is not just to fix it now, but to make sure you don't run into anything later. So ask your questions. We'll get you the answers as best we can. And if we don't know the answer, we'll say, hey, you know what? That's a good question. If you find something out, tell us, let us know. That happens on occasion, and we're not too proud to admit when we run into something new. We want the best for you, and so lying to you would not be the best. And the third thing that we ask is that you share the broadcast with friends and family. It sure would be great to share what we're doing here with the folks who are closest to you, trying to enjoy the life of the equine owner, equine rider, equine friend. That would be awesome. Edna is watching from Spring Hill, Florida. It's only 70, but it's very nice. Very nice. Dave O'Brien is watching from East Texas, 60 degrees and very nice. Happy Thanksgiving. Polly is watching from Barnesville, Minnesota, 21, cloudy and cold. Thank you for your program. Makes my day. Thank you, Polly. That's real sweet. Isn't that sweet, Steve?
Yeah, I like it.
Very cool.
Instead of warming up to a stove, they can warm up to the computer.
That's right. Sharon has our first question of the day. Awesome. Good for you, Sharon. She says, we are building an indoor arena. Is there any different needs for mules with an indoor arena here?
Nope. The only thing that you really need is to have me there to do a clinic. Ha! How about that? We break
There
in
we
that
go. That was
brand new
subtle,
arena.
Steve.
Yeah. Yeah. We might consider that. That's for sure. Or the mule guy can come and put it on for you. He's got so much knowledge anymore. I'm scared to even say anything because he'd correct me really quick.
Giddy up. That's well,
Yeah.
I'd be real gracious there, Steve. I'd be real gracious. You know what? Speaking of clinics, folks are always asking when Steve is hosting his next clinic. And Steve, we do have a new clinic. Last week, we announced that you are doing a clinic in 2025, April 3rd through 6th. And this is going to be the Mule Day Clinic in Columbia, Ohio. Columbia, Tennessee.
Oh,
Sorry, Columbia, Tennessee. What is that clinic going to be like? When when people show up, what can they expect?
they're going to expect me to help them with their problems. I'm just not going to say, okay, 10 horses go around in a circle to the right, 10 horses go around in a circle. I'm not going to do that. Okay. I'm going to help you from the bottom of their feet to the tip of their ears, to the end of their nose, end of their tail. If I can't answer the question, there's going to be 1,000+ mule people there. Somebody will give you the answer. But I'm going to be there. I'm going to be available. I'm going to have a big tent there. All of my equipment is going to be there. Not all of it, but some of all the equipment so that you can look at it and this sort of thing. But I'm going to have different mules there that I'm going to be training on. I'm going to have a bunch of people there that I'm going to be training on. Because to be honest with you, the mules are fine until the people touch. Anyway, it's another story. But I'm going to be there, and I've wanted for a long time to be at this Columbia show, and I've had the past couple years at Shelbyville, some folks from Columbia come in that have actually run the Columbia show and a lot of aspects of it, and asked me why haven't I been there, and I basically told them that before I used to plan my clinics a year in advance. So I know what's on my calendar, where I'm going to be, but they were always, they never did really fit into my schedule. But anyway, I fit them into my schedule this year because it's a lot thinner schedule. And we're going to have fun. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there early as well. So I think it starts like on Thursday or Friday and ends on a Sunday. But I plan on being there 2 or 3 days ahead of time, setting things up and this sort of thing. So y'all come by and see me. Get ready to help me. Let me help you with questions and answers. I'm not a horse guy. I'll help a horse out, okay? But you're going to hear things. This is what I learned. This is what you're going to learn, and you're going to see my hands on it. You're going to hear me talking about it, and I'm going to have you touch it, and you're going to know what it's like. And it's going to be night and day difference. I'm sure you're going to see that.
Awesome. I wanted to let y'all know I just put in the comment section a link to the Mule Days Facebook page, and I'll put a link in the comment section to the website as well. They're getting all the details to us, and as soon as they do, we're going to forward those to you. Now, real quick, I want to remind folks that if Steve Edwards is reaching out to you on Facebook, that is not this guy right here. A couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, someone came in, hacked his account. Facebook was no help. So I just want to remind you that as you go on Facebook, when you see Queen Valley Mule Ranch, that's us. When you see Steve Edwards, that is no comprende. You do not understand who that is because we don't understand who that is. So as long as you see Queen Valley Mule Ranch and we're sending you information, you're good. Second you see Steve Edwards, just put it out of your mind and go to Queen Valley Mule Ranch. That's where you want to go to get all the good stuff. Ronnie is watching from Graham, Texas. I went trail riding last Saturday at Lake Mineral Wells State Park. Millie is doing better every time we go riding. On a sad note, our B-boy, the donkey, had to be euthanized. Yep, we were just talking about that a little bit earlier, too.
Yep.
Ronnie, so sorry that that's the case. I'm so glad that things are going well with Millie, and I hope that your time with her is fulfilling and you can remember the good times with B-Boy. Thank you for sharing so we can enter into that with you. Edna is watching. Rory is watching from Southwest Ohio. Decent day today. Cool, 41, no rain. Sharon says, this acts why I went to auction where the mules are vetted by a vet. I paid a lot more, but more experienced mule owners were bidding right there with me. Great genetics, no history of injury. So if they're getting vetted, I mean, that's one of the big things right there. You want to make sure that they get seen by a vet. And if you can, you want to get a hair follicle sample and you want to get a blood test so you know exactly what's going on with them. And you're not going into this thing just on looks. Of course, you want to buy for disposition first, conformation second, and then training. It's not so much training, but foundation third. So, good job getting a vet checked out on it. What you really want to see is you want to see what can they do in a 10-foot circle. Get them to pass on the forehand or turn on the forehand, turn on the hindquarters, side pass, back up. If you can get them to do that in a 10-foot circle, you've got a great foundation. It's not a trained mule, but it's a mule with a good foundation, and you can build on that. Jack is watching from Johannesburg. It's 30 and snowing, says happy Thanksgiving. You know what? Happy Thanksgiving to you, Jack. Thank you very much. Greg is watching from Laramie, Wyoming. Linda from Portal, Arizona. Merlin is here, as he always is, northwest Minnesota. Current temp is 19 degrees with a wind chill of 10 degrees. Got down to 12 degrees with a wind chill of -8 degrees. Man, he is... Man, Merlin, if you need a new profession, hop into the weather biz because you can update those apps like nobody else. That was great. Sharon says, I'm ready to order another saddle soon. Do you want me to call you or use the internet? Sharon, use that internet, and if you need a call, call us. That internet, though, woo, it is a dandy. David, we are so glad to hear that too, Sharon. That is the best endorsement we have ever got is an endorsement saying I'm about to buy another one. We love that. David Scholl, hey, international from hot and humid Queensland. All our 10 babies are on the ground for this season. Now the work begins. And if y'all weren't sure, did David Scholl just have 10 babies? Yes, but they are mules. They're not humans. We just got to make sure the people know. David Scholl's doing some good work. Have you talked to David recently, Steve?
I have not. We've kind of communicated a little bit through Facebook there when he sends me some pictures of a new baby. I tell you what, that David Scholl, man, He's if he had mules like that here in the United States, he'd blow a lot of these mule owners away. I mean, that guy has first class mule babies. All right, first class. And notice, Dave, this is different now. He's selling these babies while they are still in mama, so nobody sees them or anything like that. Now, don't you know that that is really a trustworthy thing? Wow, to think that somebody would buy a mule before it was born. Yeah, because I tell you what, try to go to Queensland or any other place in Australia and buy a mule. Yeah, next to impossible. David Scholl is going to be setting these up, and guess what, Dave? In about 3 years, they'll be ready to ride. That's when you and I get to go to Australia and do a mule training seminars there, and you can
Giddy
show
up.
everybody your riding experience.
All right. Sign me up. That's going to be a lot of fun. Folks, if you want to see what David is doing, in the comments section, I put a link to his Facebook page, which is Vale Farm Mules. And he's got his contact information there. Really, really cool stuff. David, it's so good to hear from you. Steve, my first question of the day comes from Ava, or second question of the day comes from Ava. Can donkeys and or mules ever get along with a dog?
Nope. Next question.
Okay. You got to go a little bit further for
Go a
Ava
little farther.
and for
All
me.
right. All right. I was kind of hoping maybe you'd fill in the blanks there. Folks, what's a dog? Predator. What's a mule or a donkey? Prey. Okay? Prey animal. And so, because you have a predator and you have a prey, that prey animal is what? The bottom of the food chain. All right? And can they get along with the dog? Yes, from a distance, with you as a handler handling the dog. All right? Now, get this in your mind. This is really important. That dog is an extension of you. Which reminds me, I didn't have Jess in here when I started the program. I'm in Susan's motorhome. Anyway, it's another story. So here's extension of me. So I work with my dogs all the time. We either have lion dogs, where we were hunting lion and this sort of thing after they killed one of our babies. Anyway, it's another story. One of our cattle. And we have, like, my border collies, and we have hanging tree dogs when I was with Randy. And so here's the deal. My border collie understands when I give him a command. And when I give him a command, it's like my mules. I want it done instantly. Not, well, when I want to, I will stop when I want to. No, folks. Either the dog or the mule, either one, they have to do this instantly when you ask for them for something. Not just when you want to. No, that's not it, folks. When I say to Jess, there, he'll immediately stop. He'll look over at me. And I'll say, come by. That means go clockwise. I'll say, there. He'll wait. I'll say, away. Then he will go counterclockwise. And I'll say, there, and he'll wait. And I'll say, down. He'll go down. I'll say, there, walk up. And he'll walk up very slowly, coming down like border collies do, like this, coming. Okay? When I say here, the dog will run to me, and within 10 foot of my mule, hear that? 10 foot from my mule. I don't have to say it because I trained it into him. He would immediately turn around and face the livestock, not come to me. Because a lot of times I'm riding a kind of a bronchi, kind of a mule, and when they see a predator come to them, they're ready to get on a fight. Got that? So when I say there, if I want him to, he'll come within 10 feet and stop. If I ask him to do 20 foot, he will stop. Okay, now why did I say all that? I said that because most people have their little doggies going right alongside of them. And right here's the doggie, right down alongside them, and they're just walking around, here's my doggie, here's my mule. And then all of a sudden I hear the dog go, "Ah!" And we see the dog kind of laying there going, yeah. Because you never know when that mule feels like he is in trouble and the dog got too close or the dog got in a predator position or something like this, and the mule whacked him. I have been on many a time working mountain lion someplace, many a time working cattle someplace. I always kept an eye on my dog, always did. And when I didn't see my dog in some heavy brush, I would wait it out until I see him come out. Okay. Or I would ask him to step out for me. So I said all that to say this: no, your dog and your mule and your donkey will not get along. Yes, you got a chance of getting your dog kicked and dying. I've got a friend of mine right down the street here, Todd, and they just had their dog kicked. And by this dog's been around these horses a lot, but he got too close and peeled a bunch of hide off of his head. He's a Queensland heeler, so he's a little bit more of a hard-headed. But I said all that to say this, okay, folks, these dogs are an extension of you. This mule is an extension of you. They don't do something unless you allow it, and if you are not allowing it, they'll go ahead and handle it themselves. Most dogs are not qualified. Hear that? Most dogs are not qualified to be around equine. Now, I've been around plenty of wrecks over my life, folks. I got 32 broken bones and 2 replaced hips. So I've been in a couple wrecks. I know what it's like. I've also seen other people get in wrecks, and it can't be pretty. All right. I've done equine accident expert witnessing, where dogs have created a problem and the person got hurt. You have to also remember that most of your states have a leash law, which does not allow you to run the dog without a leash. And most of you are running Fluffy right with your other dogs. Okay. Now, I have people all the time. Well, Steve, I've been able, yeah, you've been able to do it now. You've been fortunate. Okay. I've been doing this for over 50 years, and I have seen more than one person who said that their little Fluffy would be just fine and they don't have to worry about it. Yeah, and the Fluffy end up being dead, or the person end up get themselves hurt, yada yada. Don't do it, folks. Leave the dog at home. Leave the dog on a leash someplace. Okay. Put the dog in the trailer. Okay. I've got several friends that have they're working cowboys that have poems about their doggy Fluffy, and how it got him in big wrecks. And I've seen some big wrecks because of a dog. Anyway, it's really important, folks. That's why I went on it more. Okay. That's why I went on it more. If you cannot handle your dog on the ground correctly, why are you in the saddle doing it? Okay, there you are. Next, Dave, have some come along coffee.
Uh, so my follow-up question then is: we've said so often that every day is a different day for a mule and the donkey, and even within that, just even minute by minute. So you can be walking by the same trail, the same place, nothing perceives different, but a rock
Yep.
will be in the way now, or a tree will have had a broken branch, or there's something that just doesn't sit right with them. Can that be the same thing with the dog? The dog, they're fine day after day after day, but then something doesn't sit right with the mule. The dog does something that we can't perceive, or there's something that agitates them, and all of a sudden they blow up. Is that possible?
Oh yeah. Let me just give you a couple for instances, Dave. One, I put together the first equine program in the nation, probably even the world, at Phoenix Zoo. This is an equine program. We started out with 12 mules. All right. I was very specific. We had a great big sign, 4x8 sign, and it said, "Do not feed the mules." White sign, red letters. We ended up taking that program out where people couldn't touch them anymore because people were feeding them anyway. People are the biggest enemies of equine. They are, okay? And dogs too, as far as that goes. Just look at all the overfed animals. Now let's go back. In this program, we had a deck set up where people just could walk off the deck, step over on the mule, and ride a bareback pad as we led them down the trail. Hear that? We led the mule down the trail. One day, the zoo director contacted me and said, "Hey, Steve, we have Pima Indians want to come over, and they want to set up some pottery and this sort of thing and make it look like maybe some Indians had been along the trail years ago." Because what is we had a interpretive trail. So we'd go along and say, "Yep, that's a prickly pear cactus. That's a buck," and interpretive along the way. So then we'd come up to the pottery, and we would say, "There's the pottery." Yeah, okay. So I said, "No, let me train on my mules a little bit first." You hear that, folks? Did I say train on them? Yes. Did I say anything else like, "Oh, well, we got to do it several times in order to do what for it"? Okay. I'm sure you know the word there, mule man. Anyway, think about this. Desensitizing. That's what people think. We're going to no. You have to train the animal, and even then, he's not going to respond every single time. So we come around the corner. I want to show him. So I said, "Jeff, you take this mule. I'll take this mule." As we're coming around the corner, all of a sudden, my mule stopped. Both ears went straight out. My mule, Jeff's mule in the back, automatically stopped. Mules went out. He was basically saying, "Hey, Charlie, what do you see up there? We got to be careful. Is there a mountain lion up there or what?" That's what he was saying. Because Charlie, my mule, saw the pottery, had been around that trail 100 times, and knew that that pottery was new and did not want to go past it until he checked it out. Okay? Another story. I'm riding along on a real nice mule down at the Andrada Ranch. My border collie dog, at that time, I think he was probably 3, maybe 4 years old, was over here working in the bush, and I could kind of see him. I knew where he was, okay? I could kind of see him. He was in there working, trying to move cattle out of the bush and stuff, and I'm riding this mule along. All of a sudden, my border collie was working a calf and come over by me, and all of a sudden come out of the bushes. Now, that mule had been there, done that. He was 24 years old, I think it was. You talk about a mule that's been there, done that. This mule had. And all of a sudden, as many dogs as he's seen, as many cattle as he's seen, as many things as he'd done, all of a sudden, that border collie caught him off guard. I seen him. And all of a sudden, that mule jumped and hit the ground. And when he did, he started bucking. Now, get this in your mind, folks. This is a been there, done that mule. I've roped off this mule, worked cattle. He's seen dogs. He's seen cattle. He's seen rattlesnakes. You got the idea, javelina? He's seen all this stuff. They are an equine. They change within minutes, especially if it looks like a predator is jumping out of the bush, even though they have seen it 100 times if they've seen once. They are an equine. Their brains work to protect myself. So don't think, folks, that you got a been there, done that mule that you pay big money for, that he's not going to make a mistake. You better make sure you know how to ride and not sit. The only reason I stayed in the saddle was out of pure disaster, I guess, because I grabbed my night latch, I jerked on the mule a couple times, and we rode off. I was black and blue from my knees to my belly button. I hurt for several days after that, because I tell you what, when 1,000 pounds comes up and hits you between your legs, your voice gets high.
I'm going to take your word for it there. All right, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that, and that was my follow-up question. I thought it was a great question too. So thank you so much for the question there, Ava. Okay. Concrete Warrior says, hey, coming in from the Ozark Mountains, northern Arkansas, 47 degrees and sunny. Steve, do you float your mule's teeth?
Yes, I do. Okay. Now, here's the deal, folks. Where I'm at usually, especially out here at my ranch out here, I'm a long ways from town. Do I float my own mule's teeth? Yes. I reach in the mouth where there's no teeth between the incisors and the back teeth. And I lost it for a second here. It'll come to me. Anyway, I reach my hand in there. I get a hold of the tongue. I pull it out. I hold on to the tongue, and then I take my rasp and I rasp the teeth. Yes, I do. Okay, but now I want to tell you, have somebody that's qualified balance the mouth first. Then you can do the upkeep in that you can take your rasp. They make very good rasps, but you can get on Amazon, for instance, or any of these places, and you can buy a floating kit, nice handle, some angle ones and stuff, and you can do it. Okay, I'm going to tell you that I can get a mouth on a mule ready to go in 3 to 5 minutes. I've done his teeth 3 to 5 minutes. A vet has to go through, and because it's the way they're trained, okay. My training is cowboy, so that's why I say I grab the tongue and pull it out, because I'm going to tell you that when I grab that tongue and pull it out and hold on to it, it's against his molars back here. It's the name I was looking for, the molars. And if he bites down, he's going to bite his tongue. So he'll keep his mouth open while I'm floating the teeth, okay? But take it to somebody first. Have the mouth balanced first, then it's easy for you to take care of it, because balancing is really important. So what they'll do is they'll give them a little night medicine, and they'll kind of make them relax, and then they'll put a spectrum in their mouth. They'll open up the mouth, and then you go ahead and do the teeth. Really simple, okay? So yes, I do. There's my long story.
Awesome. Great. Appreciate that question. Concrete, that was awesome. Hannah is watching from Florida, 78. Gorgeous. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. God bless America. Received and reciprocated. Thank you, Hannah. Ivy says, hi, gentlemen. Ivy in New Sharon, Maine. 32 degrees and sort of snowing. I'd like to see sort of snowing. That'd be fun. Myra says, gentle rain here today in Southern California. Happy holiday wishes to everyone. Thank you, Myra. Danielle says, hi, I have a similar question to Sharon. Is it okay to keep a mule on concrete just for the winter? It rains all winter here. I live just below the snow line near Yosemite, and my mule's 20 by 20 pen is a muddy mess. So can you keep the mule on cement?
Yes, you can. I suggest getting some rubber mats. That's pretty nice. But yes, you can. It's nice for them to be able to walk, on the dirt or this sort of thing. But yeah, the cement's fine. Uh, Pull the shoes off, because you're not going to need the shoes, and then just let them walk around. I can tell you that at the Phoenix Zoo, Popeye there, one of my old mules, is now at the zoo. Anyway, he's got concrete and he's got dirt to walk onto as well. But buy you some rubber mats. You can spend $200 for rubber mats, and you'll do good, and you're able to maintain it. And then another thing I always want to tell you folks is always be sure to clean up the manure a couple times a day if at all possible, or at least once, and then and that way you'll keep the bacteria down.
Awesome. It's funny. I was taking when my kids were little. We lived near Tempe, and we had a annual pass to the Phoenix Zoo. So I would take them multiple times a month for an hour here, a couple hours there. And I sent a message to Steve one week and saying, "Hey, Steve, check this out." And I sent him a picture of a mule, and he goes, "Hey, that's Popeye." I was like, "Man, Steve knows his mules. He can spot those babies." I thought I was finding something new, and Steve knew that mule long before I ever set foot in that zoo. So awesome. Leslie's watching from Decatur, Illinois, where it's 30 and sunny. Beth is watching from South Australia, taking us international again. Currently 20 degrees Celsius and some rain overnight. We have Western Way joining from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Cloudy, breezy, and a cool 65. Not as cool as you, Western Way. Tracy says, can't wait to see you at Mule Day in Columbia. That's right. If you missed it, Steve's going to be at Columbia, Tennessee Mule Day. You can go to, I think it's muleday.com. Yep, muleday.com. Get all the details. They will be releasing those in the coming months, as will we. Kenny says, hi guys, 43 and sunny in Patton, Missouri. I've had 2 great coon hunts off of my great mule Frank last week. Headed out tomorrow night. Wish us luck. Luck wished. That's awesome. Send us pictures, Kenny. That's great. Daniel is watching from 81-degree Mesa, Arizona, and I could tell you it is a beautiful 81 degrees. We're taking it, aren't we, Daniel? David Pengelly, great day at the Mule Ranch today and fabulous weather. Great chat with Steve. Wow. That Dave guy there with you sure knows a lot of stuff. His words, Steve, his words. I'm just repeating what he wrote. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying what he wrote. Thank you, David. That's very kind. Sherman Johnson, Norman, Oklahoma, 55 degrees. Let's see here. Setting in the stand, doing a little deer hunting, and you are enjoying some Mule Ranch talk. So good to have you here, Sherman. Beth says, looking forward to meeting my David Scholl baby. Hey, very cool. Sign me up now for the Aussie Clinic. David, let's make it happen. Daniel says, Steve, when shoeing, does the hoof need to be trimmed below the frog to account for the thickness of the shoe so the frog touches the ground?
No. Okay. So your frog is really important. It's the part in the back of the foot that's kind of heart shaped. All right. And just the dirt alone through the shoe is enough to make it go. We don't want the foot to always be setting on the frog. That will create some problems with your hoof. But the shoe with the frog being up there, it's only about a little bit more, maybe 3/8 of an inch or so. Not a problem at all. Just always, folks, always want to remember that contraction is really a big part of these mules' feet, and you want to make sure that your shoer makes that foot get wider, and they can do it as they trim and as they shoe. But hey, that Daniel, let me tell you, I met him. He come over here to the ranch and was looking at some trees to trim and this sort of thing. And he, yeah, this guy's trying hard. He wants to do the best. He's been watching my videos, and I could tell just by talking to him that this guy wanted the best for his mules. That's the kind of mule people needs to be out there.
Love hearing that. Thank you, Daniel. Cowboy Ken is here, 53 degrees in Connecticut. Also, happy Thanksgiving. Right back at you, Cowboy Ken. Jane from Florida, 70s today and BEA, beautiful. Lois says, agreed. Dogs and mules, donkeys, and even horses. Decades ago, my first OTT gelding was retraining. Sent my little Staffordshire flying because he got too close. The dog was shaken up, but okay. And that's the best case scenario right there, right?
Yeah,
Shaken
yeah,
up, but okay. It can go down
yep,
real quick there.
yep.
James is watching, says, do you know anyone who has Mammoth Jacks for sale? Steve, we don't recommend any place or anyone. If something comes up and you know the mule, Steve, occasionally we'll say something. But by and large, James, you're doing what you're doing. Just ask, and if anybody knows, they'll tell you. And if you do find one, be sure to send us a picture. We'll tell you what we see, and hopefully that'll help you make a decision. Cassie is watching. I would certainly appreciate an in-depth explanation on floating teeth from a complete novice point of view. Steve, I don't really think we have a whole lot on floating teeth as far as instructionals and whatnot. Do you have somewhere you could send someone or something you'd share with them?
I honestly have not gone online to look and see. I'm sure there's some information there, but here's the thing, folks. It's kind of like hearing. When I first stick the rasp in there, as I'm running the rasp back and forth, I can hear the thing going, "Uh, uh, 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 and it gets quiet like that. When I hear that, I then now know that my sharp point on my tooth has now come down to where it's even with the other, because it starts out because I'm filing away on the tooth, and I'm down to the place I need to be. So it comes down to hearing. All right. Now let's go back. Anytime you mess with an equine, even when you open the gate, your life is in danger. Oh, but my Fluffy, no, your Fluffy will kill you in a matter of split seconds, will maim you, will cripple you in a matter of split seconds. I can tell you that one of my clients had this really nice mule, just loved that mule, went in, had fed the mule, and they were getting ready to go on a little trip for the day. So she was going to be coming back later on in the afternoon. So she thought she would come back and just say one more little, I'll see you later, mule. Went to scratch on its butt. That mule kicked her and knocked out a bunch of teeth. She'd had the mule for a long time. She did not say something when she opened the gate. She simply opened the gate, touched the mule, and the mule whammed her. Okay? She'd known this mule for a long time. So going back to all this, okay, going back to the floating. Floating teeth working around equine is extremely dangerous. Can people do it? Yeah. Every one of my personal apprentices, learned how to float teeth. And I've taught a lot of people how to do it. Okay. It doesn't take uh, a degree to just simple balance. Okay. Or float the teeth. Balancing is then when it takes somebody who knows what they're doing, who has been trained to do it. Okay. I know several good equine dentists. There's an equine school for dentistry in Idaho. My very good friend John, he taught there a lot, and I'm going to tell you another one in Texas as well. But yes, it can be done. And no, it's not difficult. Okay, once you get used to it. But here's the deal: how do we know if the teeth need to be floated? And this is what's really important. Take your hand on the nose. Take your right hand on the nose, left hand on the bottom of the jaw. Now take your hands and go in, out. So your top one goes in, your bottom one comes out. And listen, when you hear grind, 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 okay, and you don't hear it smooth, 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 you know that the teeth got to be floated. And I can tell you, folks, it's a shame to say this, but anyway, even professionals, all of us can make mistakes. But I've had many of people bring me a mule to a clinic where John was there. You know, we were doing demonstrating of floating teeth and this sort of thing. And we'd say, okay, this teeth, the client would say, the teeth were just floated. We'd say, oh, really? Really, just floated. Okay. So we'd show everybody, listen. And we'd show everybody also right back here where you push the button. And when you push that button, you can see the socket on top of the head, go in and out. It's another story. Anyway, I'm going to tell you the majority of teeth that were done, that were brought to me or were at a clinic, majority were not done correctly. Okay. You should not feel any kind of pressure in that teeth. When you go back and forth, not only will you listen, but when you take your hands and go right, left, you can feel it catching back and forth. You hear that? So don't let some veterinarian or somebody tell you, oh, he's fine. He doesn't need to have a teeth floated. Oh, yeah. Every spring, your teeth must be floated. The teeth, why? Why? Okay. The teeth are always erupting. In other words, they're always growing out. The mouth on the mule starts out kind of straight up and down. On the donkey, goes straight up and down, even horses. And as they get older, the front of the nose comes out. And it's a thing called long in a tooth. In other words, they're getting older. So as that happens, because these mules don't bite, they grind their feed. And the better it's ground, the better it makes for the digestive system on your mule and your donkey. You hear that? That's how important it is to do your teeth on a yearly basis, once a year. Okay? Always get it done, because if they grind their feed good, you're going to have less colic, less stomach problems, less ulcers, less a lot of things if their feed is ground good. And that's what they do when they chew. So that creates these points on the teeth.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Steve. Appreciate that, Cassie. Hopefully that gets you going in the right direction. And if you find any really good stuff out there that goes beyond, please let us know. We'll have Steve take a look, and if it's good stuff, maybe we'll be able to share it with other folks. Ride Along is watching from Prescott. 59, cloudy, and windy up here in Prescott. Janet is watching from western Maine with sleet, freezing rain. Winter is saying hello. Leslie says, one of my mules is a little lethargic, and her personality and eating habits are normal. She is happy, no weight loss or dropping problems. Should I give her some alfalfa?
How old is she? Okay. Number one. Okay. Number two, when it comes down to these animals being a little lethargic and not quite moving out like they should, some of it has to do with our riding. Another of it is just a nice laid back mule, which is really nice. Okay. Now, it's important you feed your mules and your donkeys according to their work that they're doing. If they're standing around in the corral, they don't need any extra feed. The problem with the extra feed, it's a word called carbohydrates. And the problem with the carbohydrates is this: we can end up with a foundered mule, we can end up with grass founder, we can end up with a founder mule where the heat from the alfalfa goes down in the foot and sloughs off the outside hoof. It can be lots of things, y'all. Okay. So this is what I would do. I'm getting ready to go riding. I went and got my mule. I bring it over to where I'm going to saddle. I put my morale on his head. That morale's also got a name of feed bag, okay, as well. And I put it on their head, and in that morale is whole oats. Whole. WHOLE oats. The whole oats are better than the crimped oats because the crimped oats are made to fatten up an animal. You don't want your mule fat, you want him to have energy. So the whole oats will create energy with the animal, and as he's going up the trail, give him that extra boost to quote go faster. All right, or to have a little bit more life into him. Okay, now you so you want to feed them accordingly. Do not feed them grain every day. The downside of alfalfa hay is this: it is extremely tough on their kidneys. All right, it is extremely tough on their digestive system. So you want to be able to, and this is really important, you want to be able to feed them feed that is going to work good. You got that? Okay. So when it comes down to the feed, you feed according to their work. If they have a job to do, you're getting ready to go up the side of a mountain on a trail ride, things like this, where you're going to be burning that energy. Yes. That also helps the top line. Because the problem with the top line is this: those muscles will be using to work the mule up and down the trail will be having your saddle on their back. Okay, and that kind of is hard on their top line. All right, so you want to think about that. And the idea of feeding the whole oats is to give them energy and not to waste that top line.
Awesome. Great question. Okay, let's see here.
Here,
All right. Sandra says, sent an email about mule thinking of looking at when in Nevada. Okay, Sandra, we'll take a look at it. Have you talked with Sandra yet, Steve?
I don't recall the name. I've talked to a few people about looking at mules, but
All
I
right.
tell I'll tell all of you, okay? And I don't know if James Kimber is watching or not, but James almost got himself into a jackpot with a guy who said, "Oh man, I got just the mule you need. He's got the looks, works cattle, and all this stuff." And you know what? I'm sorry to tell you, that guy was lying, and he knew it, and I could see it in what he was doing. So what I'd be happy to help you out. If you want me to look at a mule, send me some pictures, some information, or a video. Be happy to look at you. And guess what? Free.
Awesome. All
You
right.
can do that, Mule guy. You can do that. You're good.
All right, so here's the next question. This one comes in from Valerie. I live on the East Coast and I hear you talk about Lakin Lite pellets. There is nowhere to get them here. What else would you recommend? And is 1 tablespoon of corn oil okay to dress the grain oats? So I'll let Steve answer the question about the corn oil, but I'll tell you, Valerie, Lakin Lite, it's a great feed. It's a feed that Steve worked with Lakin Milling to put that feed together, if I understand correctly. But it is just one example of a feed that you can use. Now, it's the starting point of what you want in a feed. So here's 2 things that you want to do. Number one, I'm going to send you a link in the chat section here to Steve's article, Mules Can't Stand Prosperity. Inside that article, there's going to be a list of ingredients that you want to print out and take to your local feed shop and say, what do you have that's like this? And they'll be able to take a look at the ingredients and point you in a direction. That's one thing. The second thing that you want to do is you either want to get a hair follicle sample or a blood sample done for your animal. And here's why. That Lakin Lite feed, where we share the ingredients, that is the starting point, and you're going to want to adjust your feed based upon the deficiencies or the what's the opposite word of deficiency? The
Efficiency.
abundance. What?
Efficiency. Efficiency.
Efficiency. Yeah, the efficiencies or the deficiencies of your particular animal. Just like humans, some of the vitamins and minerals that our bodies will produce, we will produce in abundance, and other ones we will produce in a deficient manner. And so that's why we have vitamins, and that's where we have supplements. So the animals are the same. There's probably some things that your animal is going to be more than okay in, and there's things that your animal is going to be deficient in. So those 2 things together is what you want to do to put together a great feed and nutrition program. Now, about this corn oil, Steve, she's saying, is 1 tablespoon of corn oil okay to dress with the grain/oats? I've never heard that question. Why would you consider doing corn oil, and is that okay?
Okay, so corn oil is a kind of an old way of getting the coat of your mule to be really shiny. You put a little bit of corn oil in the feed, and it helps them. You could use as much as a cupful. All right, depending on what you're feeding and how you're doing it. So the corn oil, yeah, it's a good deal. I would put the corn oil uh, uh, on my beet pulp is where I would put it, along with a little bit of water. That beet pulp is a great way to clean the digestive system out. All right. Now, one more thing I want to add to the mule guy. You all hear that? That mule guy sounded like me there for a minute. Anyway, let's go on. Uh, the You could take those ingredients. Now, I learned this from you all. You help me out here. You could take those ingredients and go to a milling company. See, I was working with Lakin Milling, and they make the feeds accordingly. Okay, take those ingredients, go to a milling company, tell them you want 5 tons of this particular pellet, and let them make it up for you. Because I'm going to tell you, a pellet is far more cleaner to feed than hay. Okay. Uh-oh. Why is that? Because hay is nasty. Why is that? Think about all the bird poop, all the snake parts, all the rat parts, all of the rat poop. Got that idea? Because what happens? Salmonella poisoning. Yep. Why did my mule colic? Most of the time, I'm going to tell you, it's salmonella poisoning. And until that vet pulls a hair follicle or a blood test, they don't really know. Okay. And it will show up. Yes, it will. All right. So when it comes down to it, okay, you're feeding these animals garbage when you're feeding them just hay, because it is very unclean. That is the reason I went with the pellets. The pellets is way cheaper to feed. Why is that? Okay, because listen to this. When you take that pellet, which is about as big around as my finger, and you put it in a glass of water with about that much water, it will expand. It will take in that that water, and it will expand. It will become 3 times its size. Think about that. What happens when you do that? What happens is this. Now the animal feels like he has more, and he's full. His digestive system, his intestines are working more correctly because the digestive system can digest that watered down, so to speak, pellet from the digestive juices in the animal's intestines. All right, so that pellet expands and makes them feel comfortable about what they've eaten. Now, how do I know this? Number one, when I started my program at Pierce College in LA, the first mule trainers program in the nation, right there at Pierce College in LA. All right. I had Star Milling out of California. They came to me and said, "We know about your Lakin Lite. Can we make up a feed for you so that you can use it here at Pierce College for your feeding program? And you can tell folks that where you got it." Willing to do that, no problem. So here's what we did. We had 10 stalls, 10 mules and donkeys on the right, 10 mules and donkeys on the left. We took that feed and we took it and we took these animals and we weighed them, and we wrote down about their coats and all this stuff and how they trained on about a 3-month basis. At the end of the 3 months, there was a pile of mule manure this high. At the end, that was eating hay. At the end of 3 months, there was a pile of manure this high of eating pellets. You had less manual labor cleaning up corrals. You had less manure because the pellets, they use every single bite. Now, in that pellets, you can put all the vitamins and minerals, all the necessary needs into that pellet. It's not just a grass hay. It does have a little bit of alfalfa in it, okay, but it's so minimal. But there's several reasons for that. But anyway, take the feed, take that ingredients, go to your feed store and have them, or your milling company, have them make it up for you.
That's great. Appreciate that. I'm glad you shared that, Steve. That was part of the conversation I hadn't heard yet. So very, very good. All right. Let's see here.
I know you
Mark
got
is
a tight
watching
time.
from. What's that?
I know you got a tight time, but you got to cut right out at 4 o'clock. So
I,
you,
I do.
you
We'll
know,
wrap it up here. Mark is watching from Virginia. Leslie says 15 years old.
okay. So Leslie, he's an older mule now, and it's nice that they're a little bit more quieter. But you can go ahead and you can add the grain to it, and you'll see a difference. It probably take a few rides to do it in, and it's okay to feed them a little bit to start with, like the day before, to kind of start preparing them. But you definitely want to do that, and there's several ways to get them to go faster as well. Now Leslie, she's been to a couple a training clinic, and she needs to know about our webinar coming up here next month.
That's right. I'm glad you said something. I'll get I need to get the link. I'll get the link here in a second, Steve. I totally forgot about that. Beth is watching from Maryland. My first mule is arriving on the 2nd. Glad I made it here tonight. I've missed a lot of sessions. Good news for you, Beth. All of those sessions are available on YouTube for free. You can go back and you can listen till your heart is content. There are probably over 1,000 like live stream videos like this, and you can really enjoy them. Dave says, I know it depends on the mule, but as a general rule, at what age should I expect to start floating the teat?
Well, I just start checking them right off the bat, going back and forth. By 3 years old, you probably ought to be looking at pretty consistent, using your light rasp on them. By 7 years old, they've pretty much brought in all their molars and their incisors. So there, from 7 years on, you want to really make sure you keep it clean up. But usually you can hear it and you can feel it. Start training your mules now, folks. So you can reach in there between the molars and the incisors. There's no teeth. Reach in. The mule won't bite you. He may pull away, but you can reach in, get the tongue, start teaching them it's okay for you to put your hand in their mouth, okay, and it's good. So, or get it done. But there you go, Dave.
Leslie says we trail ride once every 2 weeks, 4 miles, and I have oats. Thank you. Anything else?
Nope, that pretty much do it. We got a picture of a guy that's been training on his mule.
Oh yeah. Okay. Get it right here.
Hey, now looky here. This guy, I met him, wonderful man of the Lord, and he's training his mule himself. All right, using my techniques and stuff. He said he'd heard a lot of stories about some different trainers. He decided, you know what, I'm going to do it myself. This is his first ride. He'd been doing his surf single work, been doing his come along work. Notice the mule's head is down. Notice the relaxation between the two. Congratulations.
Awesome, Steve. We got one and a half final questions. Is Lakin Lite and what you have there, is it a good feed for horses as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Matter of fact, it
Awesome.
got the Good Horse Keeping Award, they call it.
Oh, all right.
You
Okay, last question. This one's from Bush Pony. The mule I'm getting has been getting a ration balancer. Should I keep her on it? She is easily spooked. She has also been getting free choice hay. I will be dry lotting her and weighing her hay.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, folks, this balancers and this sort of thing, these mules don't need it. They just need a good quality feed. Take and get the blood test, hair follicle test, so you know what vitamin minerals you feed them. If the mule is already spooky, all you're doing is adding to it by throwing all that feed at them. Okay? They don't need all that feed. You need to feed them according to their need. Happy trails.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your evening. I put a link in the comment section. You can sign up for the next free webinar. We're doing it all about how to train your mule and donkey yourself, because you know why? You are more qualified than you think you are. So get signed up. Even if you can't make it live, that's okay. We're going to send out a link to watch the replay afterwards so you can watch it when it's convenient to you. For you, Steve, we'll see you next week, okay?
Adios.
Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.